This is part 4 of me looking at making a simple game using the CTJS editor. There has been a bit of a time gap since episode 3, sorry about that. Links to the earlier episodes are in the description below. There will be a lot of references to things done in earlier episodes, so you might want to look at those first if you have not already done that, to better follow this one. So, I have made an alphabet learning program for my grandchildren. Each letter has its own page, and in the earlier episodes we have set up moving to a new randomly chosen page by clicking Add a button. In this episode we will show a clue to what the letter is shown on the page by showing an illustration for a word starting with the letter of that page. We have earlier set this up with the illustration on the background image of the page and a separate image with a magnifying glass covering the illustration. Clicking on the magnifying glass should show the illustration. We have already covered how to catch a mouse click inside an area. We will use the same method here. For the next page button, we have the code in each of the pages for each of the letters. With the magnifying glass, each of those images are an object or a copy created using a template. We will in this case put the code in the template. That code will then be used by every copy made from that template. I have measured up the coordinates for the area within which the mouse should be clicked. We use the action MB1 that we have created earlier to catch the mouse click event. At the click of the button we need the cover of the illustration to be removed. The most convenient way of doing this seems to be to make the image not visible. Next time the page is open, the cover image should be visible again, covering the illustration. At the creation phase, I set the visibility to true. This takes care of the clue button. When clicked on, the image, copy, becomes not visible, and when created, the copy will be visible. Actually, setting the copy to visible with code is probably really not necessary. We have this checkbox in the template page that seems to do the same job, but I kind of like to use code over using buttons in an editor. Then we have the Play Sound button. Clicking it should play a voice message giving the answer to what the letter of the page in the format T tiger, but in Swedish, as that is the language of this game, that would be the very similar T, tiger. Clicking the button is the same procedure as for the other buttons. To play a sound file, we first have to go to the Sounds tab in the CTJS editor. There we can create a sound. We can import a sound file that we already have prepared. My preferred sound file format is OGG. In the editor, we can give the file a name that we can use when coding. If the file is a music track, we check this box. Otherwise, we leave it unchecked. It has something to do with how the program will execute playing the file. We save the uploaded file. Pool size, I don't know what this do. I just leave that as it is. We can now play the sound file using ct sound spawn. When checking if the pointer is inside the rectangle, I use an else if statement, as we already are checking if the pointer is inside the next page rectangle, and if that is true, we don't have to check for the play sound rectangle. We try it, and it works as it should. Well, not quite. Repeated clicks will restart the sound file, even if it has not finished playing. To avoid this, we will check if the sound file already is playing using CT sounds playing, and only play the clip if it is not already playing, that is, if playing returns false. Another thing we want to avoid is to have the sound clip keep playing if the user switches to a different letter before the sound has finished playing. To avoid that, we can stop the sound when switching the room. So we need to add all the sounds and add code to each of the letter room. Copying and paste can speed that up a bit, only changing which sound clip is to be played. At this point in the development of the application, I realized that since the sound file references to the illustration, it would be logical to show the illustration when the sound file is playing, even though the clue button has not been pressed. To communicate between the button pressed and the copy of the template clue, I use a general variable that I set in the customs script. I call it clue on and set it to 1 as initial value. Pressing the sound button will now also set the value of clue on to 0. In the template for clue, MB1 action will now set clue on to 0, and visibility for the copies will be set to false if clue on is 0. Finally, clue on will be set to 1 at the creation of a copy. This might not be the best way to do this, but it will do the job. I will now add a feature that shows the user where there is something that can be clicked. I use an image of a yellow circle. It is a PNG image with transparency. The circle is semi-transparent. I load the image in textures, setting the axis to the image center, and create a template from it. In the frame start function for the template, we set this X and this Y position to the X and Y position of the pointer. So the center of the yellow circle will now follow the pointer as it moves over the screen. This yellow circle should only be visible when the pointer is over a clickable area. So we start off with setting the visibility to false and then turn it to true only when the pointer is over a clickable area. We have 3 clickable areas. For the next button, this is pretty straightforward. The next button is on all pages and at the same position. The play sound button is not on the main page, so we need to add that the visibility is true only if the current room's name is not main page. For the clue button, we also have excluded the main page, but we need also to show the yellow circle only if the clue button is visible, and the clue illustration of those can not be seen. We can use the variable clue on for this. So now we have an indication on where we have something that can be clicked. This has the same function as having a hovered version of a button, but only requires the one image, rather than a separate hovered button image for each button. Let's add one more feature. We will show which letters have already been shown. So we go to Custom Script and add a new array to keep track of which letters have been picked and which are not picked yet. Each position in the array represents a letter. If the value is 0, the letter has not been picked. If it is 1, the letter has been picked. So we start with the array filled with zeros. We then go to the picker room. When we switch to a new room, we also set the value representing that letter to 1. In the room start function, we fill the array pack2 with zeros if pack length is 0. To show which letters have been picked, we need to write a string. So we need a font to write this string with. We go to the UI tab in the editor and create a font. We give the font a name, pick a font family, size and weight, and click Apply. We now have a font. Now, we could write the result on each letter page, but a more efficient way would be to create a UI room and write the result there, and add the UI room to each of the letter rooms. So we create a UI room. When we make a room, checking the Is a UI layer box will make it a UI room. We set a name and room size. We should not use a background. In the room start function, we create a text label. We will use ct.js type code to create a text label. We set it as a new pixie text object. We set the first text string. We are not going to use this for anything, so it could be anything. We also set font to be used with ct.js, and we use the font we created earlier. We actually do not have to write this piece of code ourselves. We can go to the page where we created the font and copy a text that will give us this line of code. We also get a line of code to add the text label to the room. Before we do that, we want to set the text of the label to a string showing which letters have been chosen. We create an empty string and go through the pack2 array, adding either the letter represented by the position if the value is 1, or an underscore if the value is 0. After the letter or underscore, we have an empty space to separate the letters or underscores in the string. When we go through all positions in the array, we set the text label text to the string and add the label to the room. Finally, we need to add the UI room to each of the letters rooms. We do that in the letter rooms start function using ctrooms append. So we save and launch, and we can see that we have a string showing which letters already have been chosen. Well, that wraps things up for this series. I hope there have been something useful in this. So that is all for now. Bye!